Welcome to the Tenfold AI podcast. I'm Heather. This is Matt. As always, this podcast is sponsored by ProMode.ai. It's a super cool platform that creates content and is amazing. And hello, Matt. How are you?
Hey. How's it going?
Good. As always, we kind of started the podcast before hitting record, and then one of us has to be like, hold on, we need to record this.
And
Yeah.
here we are. I'm searching for, let's jump right into it. We got a short episode today, and I'm trying to find some supporting evidence for our thesis before we deliver it, which is not how science is done, but this is how we're doing it today.
That is how a lot of my science work is done, I will admit. But that is how most people use the internet, let's be honest. Let me see if I can find my point of view expressed better than I can express it, and then I'll feel better about my point of view.
Okay, I've been wanting to talk about jobs a little bit. It's like something we avoid, but I think it's worthwhile talking about. A close friend of mine was recently talking to me about just some AI initiatives that are going on in the company that he owns his own business. So this is not something he is in his purview. Like AI is not much in his purview, but it is wife's job. She works in ops and administration. I can't even remember what the company does. I think they do something related to employee benefits or something like that, but just some nondescript, ops job, something like that for whatever company, right? And I was kind of talking to him about it, and obviously I'm coming from this from a perspective of being bullish on AI, and really I've always been so hopeful of the drudgery that AI would alleviate. Just knowing that the first thing that it's going to get good at is just the nonsense that everybody's doing, where he was describing to me some things that they do. They have to take support requests, move those into this system, and then you've got this system is dealing with the support requests. So basically, it's one of those things where, you're maybe in charge of taking care of your company's customers, but 80% of your time is just fiddling around with kind of old, outdated, just disconnected systems.
Yeah, data entry and documentation type stuff that is a drag.
Totally. And I was kind of talking to him. I was like, it's like AI will not replace that job. It will just make the drudgery less terrible. I mean, you're not,
Yeah.
he's describing me, okay, she's got all of these systems that she has to use, all these applications that, between the CRM and how they take these customer service phone calls, where the transcript goes from it. I'm like, just imagine a world where you have a transcript from an actual call and that's it. That gets uploaded and then verified by that person. And then the person doing it is fully focused on the human that they're talking to. This is this is very much the utopian view of knowledge work and service-based work.
Yeah.
But
Are you saying that then that transcript could actually perform action items after that call?
all you need. Yep. That
Yeah.
is just all that takes care of everything after that call. And then that becomes possible. But nobody would when she gets a quarterly evaluation or whatever is done, her evaluation metrics likely are not, you are so good at uploading this transcript over here and then taking that from the CRM and doing this action to it and then sending an email to technical support and then sending an
Exactly.
email to benefit support. They're not saying that's what makes you good at your job when she gets evaluated, but this is 80% of what she spends her time doing. So I'm guessing that her evaluation, or the ideal evaluation of how she does on her job, would be how satisfied are customers? What is retention like
Yeah.
for those customers? And then we track, we're going to track customer retention after they have interactions with you. This is ultimately what the company wants, right? This is the
Yeah. And
end state goal.
yeah, that's a good point that you just brought up. She's never going to get a raise because she was the best, box checker. That's ultimately not what excellence is measured by for a role like that, or any role. How you're doing the most mundane pieces of your job is not what's going to get you any kind of recognition. But on the other hand, not performing those things well will most certainly get you penalized.
Ooh, yeah.
So then you could have the most strategic, best customer service oriented, like wise, keen employee who maybe isn't great at those, box checking detail things. That would be me right here. And today, those people are managers, you know. Okay, go ahead. I'm just,
Yeah, no, you're spot like again, there's and this is a situation where like what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If all of a sudden you're like, okay, our customer service is just customer service. It is you have been doing customer service with this company for 5 or 6 years, and it is obvious that you have an intuition on how this is done. Like we look at all of
mm-hmm,
these evaluations, we look at customer retention metrics, and you are phenomenal at the art of this job.
mm-hmm,
And so, like, I think what happens is, well, we're sitting in this weird place where the bottleneck for a lot of knowledge work right now is the technical ability to use various applications. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you are, let's take a web designer, for example. There's a direct correlation between how much money you get paid per hour as a web designer if, let's say, you know how to basically duplicate a website template and then fill in the words for your client. Okay, that's probably a, you know, US based, that person's getting paid $25 to $30 an hour for that work. Okay. Now, so you can do that. You just like in a visual editor, you copy and paste a template, you get paid 25, $30 an hour for that. Now, if you are a web designer and you can customize a website in Figma, let's say, and even let's say you're just an average Figma user, I'm like a very like middle of the road Figma user myself. All of a sudden, you're still doing this website work. Um, but now you're doing like probably getting paid $75 to $125 an hour simply because you know how to use a different application that's a little more complex than the one before that. And then you
mm-hmm,
take the ability, ooh, I can actually, not only can I use Figma, but I can use Figma in dev mode. And my design work is actually outputting code that goes straight to the developers. Now we're talking $200 an hour. North of that, you're doing, you're probably overseeing 50K plus, like $50,000 plus website builds. What's different in all of that? Like, there's no indication of how good anybody is at design or how good anybody is at creating buttons or calls to action or meaningful web copy. All of the reasons that somebody would want a website for their business is not reflected in the hourly rate whatsoever. You feel
mm-hmm,
me? The only
mm-hmm,
thing that changes that person's value is all of the different, increasingly more complex legacy software systems they know how to use. This is
mm-hmm,
a really precarious place for workers. And I
mm-hmm,
think that just in general, thinking about how many first principles go into my job is, I think, a question that
mm-hmm,
people need to start asking, because historically there's been this insulation of like, listen, I am a pro, I have these Figma certifications. I can roll in pretty much anywhere. I can take a year off. I can go to Burning Man. I can go find myself in Tulum, Mexico, work from there. And like you found yourself in a weird historic moment of like that's been about 20 years long where you are getting paid a crazy amount of money for just the ability to run an application.
mm.
And there's not many first principles involved in a lot of these knowledge work tasks.
Yeah, it's like necessary evil type of a situation. Like
Mhm.
the outcome of having a website won't necessarily be different. Like that there's not inherent impact, business outcome attached to that. Because then there's a whole other skill of like, conversion rate optimization and UX, like the art of building a website that actually converts and all the technical components of that. But the actual build of the website itself has depended on an ever increasing tool stack, an ever increasing complexity that doesn't necessarily bear more fruit at the end of that process.
Exactly. And the and so
And the website's just an example. Like it's really every knowledge work role, every person working in a marketing agency, in a clerical role. You've got increased tech stacks and skill level required to leverage those tech stacks, but there's still no magic in just that. You still must have that critical thinking piece.
yes, and I think you brought up the key point that so anyway, I'm gonna go back to this to my friend's wife really quick. I was kind of talking to him, and then through that I talked to several other people that are working in like corporate America and thinking about AI. And there's a level of fear that is certainly unfounded today. Like they are freaked out, but they're not quite sure why they're freaked out. They're not quite sure how to think about if they should be freaked out or not. And so I wanted to like, so just that's a thing that I want to speak to is like people are scared. And there are instances in which I think they should be scared, but also know that they got a couple years to figure
Okay.
something out. Now, let's go back to the website project to highlight this because I think it's like talk about marketing. It's something that makes a lot of sense to people. So I'm hearing people right now, like in the comments section saying, you have no idea how much strategy goes into a good website. Like you were saying, conversion optimization. We need to do competitor research. I agree with you 100%. But tally the hours. That's all. Like I would just want to encourage people if you're hanging your hat on that being a part of the process, assign a percentage to it, because if you're being honest with yourself, all of the things that you just mentioned that go into the art of making a website or doing anything, the art of any job, if we're honest with ourselves, this currently occupies probably less than 10% of everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, that's the thing is like, I do think knowledge workers should be scared, but I think they should be appropriately scared and take a look at what, like, okay, you know what I'm saying? It's like, don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself about how much of this is really the strategy. Because when you tally it up by hours and assign a percentage of it, very little of what you're doing is human. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the general template that people need to wrestle with. And we can speak to marketing really well, but you know, there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stuff that is like, yes, there is this little sliver of it that is like creative and thinking from first principles and thinking strategically. But when we're talking start to finish of one of these projects, it's not that much.
Mm-hmm.
In most of knowledge work, it is not that much.
Mm.
And that's where I think people need to start being concerned, frankly. I think it would be worthwhile to just be honest about what your job is and how much of it is operating like if you're the only one that knows how to use some niche software or reporting or something like that, and that's your job security, like you need to be thinking about. So, okay, first off, any thoughts there before I just keep like barreling down this?
Well, I'm having a couple of thoughts, and one is, and maybe this is a dumb parallel, but my mind just went here. I'm imagining like C-level execs. Let's take CEO of a decent-sized company. What's the first thing that CEO does? Let's say it's a new company, but they're funded. They got a lot of money. You got CEO. He's the brain trust of this organization. He's a genius. He's strategic. He's on the ball, great with people. He's making big deals, partnership agreements and all kinds of stuff. The first thing he's going to do with capital is put a team around him, an executive assistant, an ops manager, like people to do the stuff for him that he should not be doing because it would encroach on his strategic, critical thinking, executive function time, right? Because in any organization, you want that brain trust to have as much bandwidth as possible to handle the important stuff that happens, not to be bogged down in minutia. And so that C-level person does not need to look at an email inbox or answer a chat, answer a Slack message or copy and paste anything in a screen. That person is ideating and throwing those ideas to humans, right? For the purpose of making his hour more potent than anybody else's. So AI, and what I just would love people to understand in the workforce is the promise of AI is now everybody can be that CEO. And you don't have to bear the salary cost of hiring this team of people. What happens to that team of people around that existing CEO today? Well, they're going to need to become mini CEOs at a higher level than they ever have.
Mini CEO, I love that.
Yeah. Like every person in knowledge work must become a mini CEO with a team of support in digital form in the way that they are digitally, or the way that they are.
I love that. I love that concept of mini CEO. So to that point, like you really framed this picture of an org chart. So I think we shouldn't dance around the idea that AI is going to have a serious, very serious disruptive impact on white collar knowledge work and like marketing. I'm sorry, you guys are first. That is a whole cottage industry that was just totally built on niche. There are people making healthy 6-figure salaries today simply because they know how to look at SEMrush reports. This is crazy. Like, if that's you,
that's so true.
If that is you, you should be so, like, don't be scared, but be motivated. Because, this is a lot of people. This is more people than we really want to admit and more than they want to admit. Now, AI is going to have a profound disruptive impact on this. There's no doubt about it. It's just a matter of when it happens. Now, I think for the workers out there who are like, yeah, this is me. Like, if this kind of stings a little bit hearing it, that's okay. You've got time. But in the same way, AI can be disruptive in a sense that, like, it can be disruptive in a negative sense. Like, you're going to get laid off. Like, all of a sudden, there's going to be a solution that is like, wait, this does all of these things. And like, those people are going to lose their jobs. There's just no, however, imagine you take that expertise and you take the initiative. There's going to be somebody who needs to train AI. There's going to need to be somebody who says, okay, I'm really good at running SEMrush reports, translating that to the rest of the marketing team. You need to start thinking about, what are you seeing in there? What are you flagging? What are you looking for? What are the experiments that you're running and let go of the idea that your value lies in the ability to do this technical work and
Yeah.
start to think about what makes it work really well. Because then all of a sudden, if you take the initiative to start to document, hey, here's how I would train AI to do this SEO reporting really well. Here's the factors that I look at. Here are some of the ways that here are some of the things that go into my reporting that I know my other colleagues do not have. This is my secret sauce.
Yeah.
You have to take some initiative to start like thinking about what would it take for AI to be able to do all of the clicking that you do. And then you are the one that then provides the signals and let AI do the
Yes.
rest. So I'm like,
Yeah, so instead of living so for that role in particular, SEO, uh, technician or specialist, instead of living and dying by SEMrush and old guard SEO principles as this is my job. I am the guy who decides what backlinks we buy for these websites. I am the guy who sets the SEO roadmap with keywords and keyword density. I decide how, all of that shit can now be done with AI or isn't needed anymore because of the way the internet works today. All of it. So rather than doing that, live in like Google Developer Console. Like, what is Google telling us about what is getting found? Whose content is served up in AI overviews and snippets. And I know some SEO developer, SEO specialists do that, but they still cling so hard to those tactics that they're performing. It's like, throw it out and force yourself to look at, like, what is Google telling us about their direction? Like, researching AI search visibility, Reddit threads, like getting into the conversation, and then bringing those fresh ideas back to the company.
and thinking about what is currently not possible today. That's like the key point. You triggered something in my mind. You're talking about somebody looking for keywords using like Google Dev Console to find these keywords. Now, imagine a world where now you can introduce budget directly into that process. So with AI, now all of a sudden you can take an initiative and be like, what is our pay-per-click budget right now? What are the keywords that we're using? Can I get that? Because I want to have AI run an analysis on non-obvious keywords against our actual budget. Because how this oftentimes happens in a lot of organizations is they say, what keywords do we want? Step two, what's our budget that we're going to put towards them, right? That is an idiotic way to think about anything, by the way. The first step should be, what's the ROI that we want? How much are we willing to put in to test it? Let's find the keywords that are optimized there. That is, if you were just thinking like a rational, logical human, that is exactly how you would think about that job. It's currently thought of in the reverse because you've got finance people who are tracking ROI on ad spend. They are in a different wing of this company than the people dicking around in SEMrush. Like, you know what I mean? When we're talking about like, hey, I'm sure there's meetings, people be like, hey, how's everybody using AI? What are we thinking about AI? Like, the director told us we need to adopt it. Like, start thinking like this. Hey, let's not talk about the AI tools that we want to use. I don't want to show you some free trial I just started or some custom chat GPT we built. Like, let's talk about how things flow around this company. Don't you think it's kind of crazy that we come up with budget after we come up with keywords? Because I'm researching all of these keywords and they have dollar amounts next to all of them. And some of these keywords that are in my report are like 10 cents a click. Others are $10 a click. What if we started with budget and reverse engineer? Of course, that's what you should do. Of course, that's how you do that, the best way that it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can actually do it the best way that could possibly be done by using AI. And chances are, if you're in an organization and you are thinking like that, when this major disruption happens in the next 18 to 24 months, guess who's like, yo, Susie was talking about like starting our keyword research with budget and reverse engineering from there. And she came up with a bunch of different tests. Susie no longer needs to know how to execute on those tests. She doesn't need to know how to write Python. She doesn't need to know how to do any of it. She just has to know that like, I'm seeing the costs of all these keywords, and I just send that spreadsheet to somewhere and I have no idea where it goes. And it's just being ranked on like all of this could now be analyzed just in runtime and then adjusted next month, just recursively.
Mm-hmm.
I want to encourage more like when there's a time in disruption, that means that there's a time for you to, there's going to be a moment for you to lose your job. And there's going to be a moment for you to take your boss's job. And
I think you're right. And so just yesterday, I was looking at job descriptions at some job openings on LinkedIn for content strategists and specifically AI content strategists, which is a new role, right?
mm-hmm.
There's a very strong possibility that there will be no predecessor in that company when that person gets hired. And I'm looking, at the head count, the other marketing roles within the company, and I'm seeing they already have content teams. They
Mm-hmm.
have content manager, senior content manager, or content coordinator. Like they have a content team, but they're actively hiring for a new $110,000 to $130,000 a year role for an AI content strategist. And the job description is, we want someone who will figure out how to get us found in AI search engines using content. So it's almost as if they're planning to set up this wholly separate strategy and department for getting found on AI search. And that's, I think, an example of that lack of first principles thinking at the executive level, because they're not understanding that the whole landscape has changed. That AI search engines is not a box to check. There's not a list of nice, tidy tactics that you can give someone and say, okay, if you do all of these things as it is in SEO, if you just follow this checklist, you can just knock this out and then we'll be found in AI search, boom, done. It's the global brand initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And the content team you already have is part of it and should be leading it.
Yes, exactly. I love that because that fits well into how LLMs work in general. Like I was talking with somebody about this yesterday. There will like be a day. There will be a day when this all like sort of makes sense, but everything related to LLMs is just adjusting the probability space that work is done. You're adjusting weights and numbers in there. And so there will never be a clean tactic that's not paid. Like, yeah, you can pay for ads and show up in LLM recommendations. Like that will certainly be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there is no like the reason that there are these little checkbox tactics where you're checking a box and I've completed a tactic, high probability that it leads to a successful outcome, is because we have been restricted by non-probabilistic software. And now all of a sudden we're operating inside of probability space where something can, it's not quite like quantum level where you've got like two things in superposition, but pretty damn close. So like in that, the answer to that is to like throw out the idea of any tactics today, right? like the way that you should respond to that is to leverage the technology to do everything that you don't have time to do today. Probably the safest tactic when it comes to, if you want to show up in an LLM, if you want to do anything in marketing, but the safest thing that you can do today is leverage the technology to do everything you don't have the time to do. And that it'll sort itself out in the wash. But like that principle is 100% true, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. And that starts with, and correct me if you see it differently, but that whole series of events starts with data architecture. It starts with organizing your data to mirror the way the internet is today structured, which is AI readable, vector databases. It's housing all of your data differently. So the internet used to be spreadsheets behind an interface. Today, it's three-dimensional data architecture. The more your data mimics and mirrors that, the more all of your ships will rise. Your SEO performs better, your ads perform better, your organic content is seen more frequently, you're reaching more people, you're taking more ground, your emails are getting opened. It's so hard to really explain that in like a real concrete way. But am I saying that
You're spot on. And
right?
I'm actually like, I'm going to try to pull up a document. So as I was telling you yesterday, I built like a fully AI native prospecting tool. Like it could be used as a CRM even. But I just kind of want to show, I think by showing this, what would be a CRM entry. I think people can conceptualize what it means to like have a CRM and you've got a company in your CRM that you're prospecting to. And so what I'll ask you and everybody else to do is to visualize what that CRM looks like. It looks like a bunch of fields, right? Just individual fields, can be exported as a spreadsheet, can be imported as a spreadsheet, but just little fields everywhere, right? I'm going to show what a single company's entry into an AI native CRM looks like so that people can kind of wrap their head around what we're talking about. So this is just one entry in an AI native CRM. Guess what? I'm not going to read any of this because every time I log into this AI native CRM, it will read the entire thing in half a second. And then I just ask it, what's going on with this company right now? What's that third email that I was supposed to send to them? Like, pull that up, drop it in here for me. So it is like, this is what like an entire companies will just be run on data structure like this. It's just a big chunk of data, but it's all of the relevant things to do good at it. And so for us, like funding and corporate events is a really important thing that we need to know for our prospecting, right? Well, if the CRM that I bought doesn't have a field for tracking funding and corporate events, I'm shit out of luck. But
Yeah.
now me as somebody who's like, okay, I want to be out prospecting, and we've had plenty of conversations. We know that funding signals indicate fit for pro mode. So it's like, cool, that's now a part of our CRM. And that might not be a part of Susie's CRM that she's using. But the point is that like we had to know that funding and corporate events are an important, like that is important for our company and important for our prospecting. And so the same is true for SEO. The same is true for like getting your company's data ready for this era. Like it's the era of just like big chunked data. And agents can create it themselves. Agents can create instructions for themselves. Agents cannot give priority to anything. Agents cannot say funding activities are something that should be looked at, right? So I don't know. This is like a real communist call to arms, I think, is where I'm headed. I think at the end of the day, we've talked to enough big deal decision makers that they have zero clue as to the work that goes on in the interim. And so we know people are not going to change for gain tomorrow. They will only change for pain today. And so there's not going to be these mass layoffs until there's an economic impetus to do it. And then it's going to be ugly as fuck. It's going to be super ugly. And we see some of this. We've seen some big corporate layoffs that were actually as a result. I don't want, like, there's a,
Yeah.
I have been getting some good insider info on the layoff front recently. We've seen some big news in the headlines about layoffs happening. These are publicly traded companies, mind you. Very few of these layoffs are actually because of AI, but
Right.
you lay about it's a lot of them are from bad business decisions, poor acquisitions. I mean, like bad integration after an M&A. Like that's why these layoffs are happening. They're not happening because of this newfound efficiency. So what you're seeing companies do today is that they are laying people off because of bad business decisions, hitting the press and saying, we are operating so efficiently with AI that we were able to, so their stock price goes up.
Yes.
Before,
exactly.
and this is happening, and they are doing it strategically before they have to file anything quarterly, and everybody finds out, oh, actually, all those layoffs were because of bad acquisitions, not because of AI efficiency. And so before that quarterly filing came up, we want to juice our stock price by saying we are such an efficient, AI first company. That's bullshit. Like nobody's doing that today. In 18 months, that will be for real, though. It's just we've gone through so many like upper mid-market enterprise, like we've looked at it, it's like, yo, none of you guys are using any tooling that would allow you to lay anybody off. It does not exist in your companies. You're full of shit, unless you're Anthropic, who invented. I mean, like, unless you're Anthropic, you're totally full of shit. If you're saying that,
Yeah.
you won't be. In 2 years, you will not be full of shit, but today you are full of shit. And so I'm like, having a this is why it's my communist call to arms, just like workers of the world unite, build the AI that will replace you, you replace your boss. You have to. It has to start at the, like, I know it sounds crazy, but fucking replace yourself and you will be indispensable. Because none of these idiots are going to know how to teach AI how to do a good job at something. Managers are not good at this. Directors are not good at this. Again, pain today versus gain tomorrow. You don't want the layoffs to be forced by a poor economy, and that's what it's going to be. Your boss is not going to want to operationalize your department until their boss tells them to. So somebody's going to have to start doing it before it becomes necessary.
I want to show you something real quick. This article from Bionic, which I think is a MarTech solution maybe for agencies. I'm not exactly sure what they are. I was sent this yesterday. Good article on, when will AI beat humans at office work? And this is specifically for marketing agency leadership that this article is written. What agency leaders should know. These notes are amazing. Things like audit your top workflow by hours consumed and classify them as automate, augment, supervise, or retain. Build a system of record layer that grounds AI in real campaign, pricing, workflow, and financial data. Rebuild the apprenticeship model so junior staff learn judgment even if AI absorbs the old manual tasks. Redesign planner and buyer roles around diagnosis, orchestration, judgment, and client counsel rather than manual execution. Move the client conversation away from labor hours and toward outcomes, governance, and control. This is what we scream about all day, every day for the last year and a half.
Yes.
And what I want to tell mid-market agency owners is if you are making any strides in this direction at all, you're ahead of the curve because I have yet to meet one. And I talk to agency owners all the time. I've yet to meet one who is doing things like building a system of record that grounds AI in real campaigns, pricing, workflow, and financial data. No way. But who is doing this are the largest agencies in the world right now.
Yep. Yep.
There's like 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They bought up a whole bunch of $100 million agencies. Each of these entities is worth $10+ billion. Like, these are giant data monsters that are
Mm-hmm.
just hoovering up company data around the world. And they're massively amping up. We have talked to them.
Mm-hmm.
Take my word for it. And I know I'm talking to you, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, like, those companies are using first principles, are making really hard decisions, are radically overhauling operations, are starting to build systems like this. The CMO of Deloitte, I listened to a podcast and then engaged with him on LinkedIn a little bit afterwards because it was so good. CMO of Deloitte talking about how agencies must learn to serve clients differently. Hourly billing is going away. You will no longer be valued by manual tasks. You will be valued by true ideation, innovation, strategy. Like, everybody's talking about it. The
Mm-hmm.
mid-market seems to be, what I'm hearing from mid-market agency owners is, we're so busy right now. We're just so busy. We're too busy. We have a lot of projects that just came in. I'm like, yep, because it's March.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's March, you probably got some video projects. Yep, we're busy with video projects. Uh-huh. That's the cycle every year. And you're operating at what? 10% margin?
Right.
You
Right.
get 20% on video. That's why it's all hands on deck. We got a big video project. And I could go on and on, but they're not taking a moment to really look at the future. They're talking about next quarter. Well, if we have bandwidth next quarter, if our revenue continues for next quarter, then we'll circle back to this conversation about AI operations. And I'm like, enterprise leaders are talking about 2030. You're talking about next quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, who's got staying power? I get fired up and I don't even know what to
Well,
do about it.
rightfully so. Like, good news is you won't be busy in a couple years. I mean, just
I
being
know.
honest.
I want to say, do you want to keep being busy?
So we'll zoom out and get kind of meta on this. You and I had a great conversation yesterday about just like, what's it like being a founder? Like, what's that feeling like? This is one of them that is one of the hardest things to wrestle with is human nature. Because in general, like as a founder, you choose to go down a more painful path because you know that there is gain tomorrow. It's, you're just generally operating under a motivational state that probably less than 5% of humans are operating under. And you prefer operating in that space. You are like, you know what? I see a gain tomorrow that I'm willing to eat shit for today.
For a long time.
Yeah. But then the problem is that your customers are people who are just thinking about, like, they don't have, like, it's not dire, it
Right.
isn't. It's not dire until it is. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that makes AI such a tricky space is it is like, yeah, there's a lot of weird charlatan type bullshit in the AI world. There's a lot of shiny objects. There's a lot of vaporware going on, but that's okay. That's par for the course. You're gonna find that anywhere. Sift through it, like that article that you just showed. Perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're looking at AI solutions and it checks those boxes, probably a good first place to start. But to delay it is just, it is ill-informed. I mean, I I harp on it so much, but like I think that if you play around in Claude Code, you play around, like, I mean, you look at this stuff and you're like, holy shit, these agents are writing their own documentation, they're self-correcting on error, they're self-evaluating, they're like, prompting is dead. I mean, I am just like, it is so clunky. Like, it is absolutely clunky to prompt something. I mean, they're just like the agentic capabilities are absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
Just in the last 2 months, it's gotten crazy good. And it's at its peak. Like, here, okay, this is the one takeaway I want everybody to have. Everybody says I'm overwhelmed by the tooling. The tooling peaked. It is in its final form as of 2 months ago, a month ago. It is all in its final form. There's a basic format that it all looks the same. Agents
How
bring
do
in the data to do the task. What's that?
how do you know that?
Well, because there are inherent token limits that exist in mathematics. Has nothing to do with the technology, but just how probability distributions work in mathematics. The more
Okay.
potential probabilities you open up, there's it becomes all noise and no signal. And so if we're going to be using large language models to do tasks, it creates an inherent, like, there'll be a limit on how many tokens you can feed through there. And so the architecture for how tokens are passed around any agent is like officially fixed. You know, like it does not, there'll be small optimizations, but certainly on the LLM agent side of things, that basic architecture is, everybody's aware of it now. And I think we're gonna see a big cliff of AI tools that just die, who don't realize that the agents have to be self-documenting, they have to be building their own databases, they have to have like good permissions architecture, not only amongst their human interface, but amongst each other. It is like, anybody who's used Claude Code, like, this is how all agents will work, and this will be the, like, this is the technology. It is fixed. And so I wouldn't, like, if you've hesitated to adopt something because it's changing so quickly, it's done changing. The basic architecture is the same, and those bullet points that you just showed us are it. Like, those suggestions reflect where the technology is and
Yeah.
generally where it will continue to be. I do not see in the LLM space and the agent space where we are at a point to where an agent is spinning up its own app to do its tasks today. And so you need to find, now is the time to find your niche tooling and just ensure that it looks something like Claude Code, where agents are making their own documentation and instructions, and you can see it all happening. That's the architecture. It's like, finally here, everybody's like on the same page. All of the engineers that have been working on this separately are like, everybody's doing it, like, and it's just obvious at this point.
Yeah.
So now
And
would be
if
a,
anyone is if anyone's wondering, that is how Pro Mode is built
mhm.
fundamentally,
Yeah,
in a
it's
closed system that won't get your brand in trouble
mhm.
because our agents don't go post on robot Reddit.
Right, right. So I would say now is the time. Like, now, I would say that today is the time. You know, up until now, I could see a case to be made for, like, play around with different stuff, try different stuff. I think now is the time to start thinking about, we can now put an entire organization into this, or an entire department of an organization into this, because that architecture has, like, coalesced around a best practice kind of final version. So I would say you got to start doing it today. There's just, it's coming so quickly. I mean, we're going to start to see absolutely insane things happening. And
I'm excited.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I am hopeful because, and this is my personal experience, but when we started building ProMode almost 2 years ago, in a couple months it'll be 2 years that we started that journey. It was a lot of, talking about the founder story. There's a lot of trust from me to you, right? Because you're talking
Hmm.
about this future of the internet and AI readable databases and data architecture and stuff that was so foreign to my experience as a digital marketer, as a marketing strategist. And I'm like, man, it sounds true. Why does it sound true? And I beat my head against that for a while because articles like this did not exist 2 years ago.
No.
Like, the conversation was so not at all that. It was deep developer stuff that I would have no chance of understanding, or pure hype.
Yeah.
Everybody's an AI consultant and we're going to string together stuff in make.com and call it IP,
Hmm.
like there were those two things. And I wasn't finding anything that rang true in my research. But then talking to you, I'm like, and I think that was some first principles thinking that I was employing for that. Like, okay,
Hmm.
if this, then that, and then if this, then that, this makes sense. I don't fully understand it, but it does make sense. And then as I grew to understand it more and started really like evangelizing this message
Hmm.
to clients and prospects, like, man, this is it. But it's so frustrating when the market doesn't. It really does remind me of my religious days. Like, I just want you to know, the good news here,
Yes, dude.
you know? But now to see articles like this every single day coming out and, LinkedIn thought leaders talking about conversations starting to click, it's starting to merge and sound so much like our first conversations 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn it, we were right.
Yeah.
We
You
were
saw
right.
me. Yeah. You saw me. I delivered a bunch of files to a client this morning. And like, it is anybody who has ever left a CRM, like you're switching CRMs, you're like, I want to be able to export that CSV. And like, that that's really important. You have all of your contacts in your CRM, you're switching CRMs. Or like a big part of that setup is you're paying somebody 50 grand to get all of those contacts in the new CRM and set up. This is a super important step. Like what you saw was that occurring in the AI native space. It is, that should be a critical check mark that everybody sees, is like that the file that I just showed that was that company profile, your entry and exit from AI native SaaS is going to
Mm-hmm.
look like that. It is going to be a giant like folder of files that are just like a page of data. And it is just like, you need to start that now. Like, you need to start doing that thing now,
Mm.
and just finding the like, and a good rubric to check off against is like, does my entry and exit from my engagement with your AI platform involve a ton of files like this that look about like this? It's not, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not going to be a spreadsheet. I'll tell you that. Like, it's going to be that. And it is like, this is how work will be done
Mm-hmm.
for the next foreseeable, probably 2 decades. And it's
Yeah.
here. The structure is here. It's known. Like, every engineer that's worth their salt is aware of that is the setup, and that's what it looks like, and you need to start it today. We're not going to see a 10x improvement with the next model release. There's not going to be any new frontier model that's released that fundamentally will change the way that agents perform work for you. Like, I think it's go time for a lot of businesses in with low stakes things like marketing, you know,
Mm.
like filing your taxes for you. I would maybe wait a little bit before doing stuff like that. But certainly for public data that's intended for public consumption, it's like the best practices are here. It's like, you know, don't wait till the pain is a forcing function. That's like,
Mhm.
I hate that that's going to be the likely scenario for most people. And that like kills me, but it's the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah, you don't wanna find yourself with a system level pain, after your competitors have already adapted,
Yeah, exactly.
or even one of your competitors have adapted.
Right.
Like, fun stuff.
You've got
This
a
has been
birthday to go to.
I know, my daughter turned 18 today, so I am geriatric, going to sign up for AARP and, find a pasture to spend the rest of my days in. This has been the Tenfold AI podcast. Always thank you to Micronesia and Abu Ghraib, friends of the show, top listeners in those regions. We will see you next time. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Bye.
LLM architecture for professional communicators.